Hello, and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Special, The Haunting of Hill House Aftershow. On a normal episode, we would review and discuss one horror film in detail, but for this series of 10-plus episodes, we will be having an opinionated and accidentally funny discussion on each episode of The Haunting of Hill House. We're doing this because we did a whole series of aftershows on The Haunting of Bly Manor, the second season of this I don't know what you would call it, series of shows. Your expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hanson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day. That's me, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. So, with no further ado, The Haunting of Hill House After Show with Horror Movie Talk. We've got a great show for you guys today. We will start out by giving a brief synopsis of this episode, and then we'll get into spoilers and basically just spoil the whole rest of the show, because this is an after show, and that's what we do. We spoil things for you, or we just dissect them so that, hopefully shed some light on your viewing experience. Anyway, so Bryce, this episode is, it jumps us right into the thing that will happen for the next 6 or so episodes, right? Which is basically, we're going to be doing character studies.
Yeah. Hops between each of the family members in the cranes and starts weaving together into what the full picture is in terms of what happened to their mom and what happened to Nell.
Yeah, so like I said, this is the first episode about a specific character, and in this episode, we focus on Shirley Crane and everything that made her the way she is. She is, of course, the oldest daughter.
I think she's actually she's the oldest daughter, but the second oldest sibling.
Right. She's the oldest daughter, but yeah, I think she's younger than
Stephen,
thank you. Boy, I don't know how you remember the names so well. It takes me like the whole series to get their names down.
That's because the title of the last after show is still on the paper and it says Stephen on it.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, there you go. As with all the episodes in this season and the second season of Flanagan's series, the Bly Manor season, this episode is rife with sadness and scares. Although it does seem like now that I'm watching them, I've watched Bly Manor and now I'm coming back to this one. It does seem like Hill House is just chock full of scares.
I did not remember how many scares there were. And when you were talking about it's not nearly as scary as Hill House. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like it was about
good.
Maybe a little less, but no, it's not even comparable. Haunting of Hill House packs them in.
Yeah.
In unexpected moments and really well.
Really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just thinking about, I remember this episode. Okay. So anyway, we should get into spoilers now.
Yeah.
So
let's play the spoilers. Spoiler music.
Spoilers. This is the spoilers section. So, I should mention this is called, I think it's called Open Casket. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I wrote it down at the top of the page, I think. No, I didn't. Of course I didn't. So, I'm pretty sure that episode 2 is called Open Casket, and for good reason. Our main character in this one, Shirley, is this is about her obsession, or the beginning and how it plays out, her obsession with death.
Yeah, and she's pretty close to death because she's a funeral director or a mortician.
Right.
And, I'm sure everyone that's a mortician doesn't necessarily have a huge close connection with death compared to Shirley. But there's a lot of formative moments that we see in her childhood that showed her, how important it was to have a good funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. I would like to bring up the first thing that happens in this episode, which is during a flashback. So we're talking about the kids, or when they are kids. Well, actually, before that, we have everyone waking up at 3 a.m., which this is kind of one of these things that the Exorcism of Emily Rose taught me about, which is yeah, that 3 a.m. is considered the witching hour, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the number that the devil chooses theoretically to taunt God, because it's, I don't know, some sort of reason having to do with, God and Satan. Who knows? Those crazy guys up there and down there. What are they doing? I don't know. Anyway, so all the kids are kind of seem to be connected via some sort of mental link. They all kind of wake up when things happen to each other. Mm-hmm. They have some sort of shine between them. and it's kind of weird, because then we go, so Shirley is now a funeral director or a mortician. And she's like counseling this little boy who's like, oh, look, I don't want anything to do with my grandma. She's fucking creepy. Mm-hmm. She came to me the other night. She said some creepy shit. She didn't have her hair. It was weird. And,
basically talking about how she came to him as a corpse ghost.
Right. In his, like, the implication is that he's having a dream, but the other implication is that to him, this is real. Mm-hmm. And because of the way this show works, it's like, I kind of lean on the idea that this is probably kind of real, because ghosts are a big deal in this show. Mm-hmm. So she kind of tries to do this thing. She was taken aside when her mom died. The funeral director or the mortician kind of held her hand in this very sort of like helpful way. It was like, here, I'll help you to go and see your mother, who's in the casket, and you have nothing to fear. And she goes and she's all worried, approaching the casket. And then she sees her mom and, oh my gosh, it's like, she's all better. You made her better. And so,
you're jumping forward in the episode,
right? I'm setting this up, which is to say, for her, it was a tremendously formative moment. It was like, it was like this realization that things could be good before, like to kind of seal everything up, to give closure. Mm-hmm. But I was so struck with the concept of her like trying to do the same thing with this little kid who, in the episode, he's like, I don't want this. Mm-hmm. I don't, like, he kept being like, no, lady, leave me alone. I don't want to see my grandma. She's like, no, come on. Come on. We're going to get up there, get right in there. I remember people doing this stuff to me as a kid and just being like, why are you doing this shit to me? This is so inappropriate. Like, I really don't want this. And then I get there and be upset about it the way I knew I would be.
Yeah.
Do you recall anything like this happening to you?
I mean, yeah, you definitely had the things where you didn't want to do it. I don't remember it distinctly. I'm sure it happened with me, but
people still do this shit to you. Even when you get to be,
I'm a pushover though.
Oh, really?
I'm just like a rube. I'll do whatever people tell me to do.
Like when both of my kids were born in the hospital, they're like, "You want to cut the umbilical?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to fucking cut the umbilical cord." They're like, "Come on, it'll be great." I'm like, "I would really rather not." Like,
I'm paying you $10,000 to do this shit.
Yeah, maybe you as a professional can do it. They're like, "I think you're really gonna regret this." I'm like, "I guarantee you, I fucking won't." Do you want me to pass out on the floor? We can do that right now. I'll pass out on the floor for you. Idiots. Anyway. Anyway, so for me, this just felt kind of like bad touch the whole time. It was like, oh, don't make this kid. Oh, poor kid. He doesn't want to see his grandma.
The thing about kids, though, and I know this now much more than I did when I was a kid, they're just very short-sighted. They don't understand what like how their choices now will haunt them like in 20 minutes even. So
explain what you mean by that.
Well, just like...
Oh, I guess, no, that is the nature of kids. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to eat this candy right away. You know, no, I'm going to give you one candy now, and if you don't eat it for 5 minutes, I'll give you 3 more. And they're like, fuck that, I'm going to eat the whole thing
before you
now.
finish the sentence, they're like, no, this is good.
Yeah.
I get to eat it now. So, yeah, I mean, I think having an adult perspective and realizing, like, there's an important facet of closure when it comes to funerals that you want to encourage kids to partake in that they might not quite understand, but at the same time, I mean, who really cares about this?
The other part of this is like, I've never approached an open casket and looked.
Really?
It's too much for me. It's way too real. I don't like it.
Really?
Oh yeah, no. And it's
how many open casket funerals have you been to?
Only probably 2, but in both of them I was so overwhelmed with emotions that it was like, no, it will be bad if I go up there. I don't want any more of this.
Yeah, I mean, they make it into this beautiful thing in this show, but really it's like, it's weird.
Yeah. How could it not be?
I mean, it's not them.
No.
It's like a very poor wax sculpture of them.
Ugh.
And you're like, it's just a stand-in for their presence.
Right.
Know, which is also not there. It's just a body.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about it, recently because my dad just passed a couple months ago. And part of that was helping prepare the body for burial, and you go on and dress him in his clothes and stuff.
You did?
Yeah, me and my brother.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's like you hear about how, I mean, my mom has done that for her parents, and you hear people that do it, how it's like a very special experience, and that it's like kind of a final act of service. And I was like, yeah, whatever, sounds like you're a little bit of cognitive dissonance sounds like it's kind of really, I look at it and it's like, it sounds like that would actually be really morbid and disturbing, and not a good experience, but it was. I mean, it was kind of a good opportunity to say goodbye in a very intimate way, and it was like a final act of loving service for my dad, and it's weird. It's just so weird having someone gone. There are several scenes in this episode where it hit me, and it made me think about my dad and the whole experience about losing him. And yeah, there was a couple rough moments in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of the reason that I really enjoy Flanagan's work, particularly on these series. Although it seems like most of his work has to do a lot with death. Like, Mike Flanagan has a thing with death.
Well, yeah, I mean, horror has a lot to do with death usually.
Sure, but this is specifically loss. Like this, you can say all you want about Freddy or Jason or whatever you want, but they don't deal with they deal with the killing of death. They don't deal with the after effects, the long-term ramifications of loss.
Yeah.
And he does it in a really kind of thoughtful and kind of tender way, and it's like, oh, this is one of the things that fucks people up the most.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that ties a lot of his work together is the focus on families, familiar relationships, and I mean, I think that just makes any movie or show better, is just character study and like building relationships and relationship tension, because that's what you can point to and be like, that's real shit.
It's compelling.
That's not like spooky spook something.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, this stuff actually fucks you up. Like being in a fight with your brother.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or, all that basically, I mean, getting on with it. Like, so then we get to see why she's kind of obsessed with death, right? So first of all, she surely lost her mom, as did all the kids, but more than that, she finds the kitties, right? She goes into they go into that shed, they hear the mewing of the little baby kitties, and oh man, good spook in that one where she takes a picture of the kitties, and you see that face behind them, you're like,
yeah.
What the? What's that? And then she takes another picture and it's like, whoa! It's like, and that gets me. I'm so glad we're watching this again because all the scares get me again.
Yeah. The whole, everything around the box of cats is like truly disturbing.
Yeah.
Like there's something really, really off-putting about just a box of little kittens that aren't like, you know, super active.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't going to end well. And then you see like one little kitten die and you're like, ooh. Yeah. All the scares with the kittens were really effective because it's disturbing on like a whole nother level of like, it's little kid experiencing it.
Yeah.
And it's truly like disturbing, like the effects they have on the little kittens that are dead.
Yeah. She's like trying to like bottle feed them kind of. And then so she gets the experience of like, I'm being a mama. Hooray. And that's so tender and sweet.
And now they're dead.
And the next day it's like, oh, well, one of them's dead. Oh, wait, it's not exactly dead. Look,
no, it's alive. He's
I can
breathing.
See its throat moving. Oh my God. It gets sweetie. Oh,
big ass bug crawls up. That's like so messed up.
God damn it, Bobby. That was such a crazy, like, oh, is that a Halloween 3 Season of the Witch tribute? Is that what's going on? The bugs coming out of the kittens? Because then...
Yeah, maybe they got shot by a Halloween mask laser.
Yeah. Well, and so, and then all the kittens die. And she goes to pick one up, and it's like fucking zombified. Its eyes are all white. It's like, Jesus Christ.
And then there was a great where it transitions into like, this is a dream, because she's. Or wait, I might be skipping ahead. It's where like they're woken up by the banging on the walls.
Oh yeah,
and her dad comes in. And like is assuring them that like, you know, it's scary. It's at night. It's probably just like the old pipes or whatever. And, you know, and then he goes like, what he said? It sounds like he's going to say it's all over, but it's all over. And he's like,
oh my God. Ugh. This gives me chills just thinking about that moment because, okay, that's a genius. That's a genius move because it lulls you into this like, okay, dad's here. It's like the moment in the movie where you're safe, you know?
Yeah. It's
like they've signaled to you that you're safe. But in this, you really believe it because that dad is so kind.
Yeah. Well, you even if you're expecting the fake out, you're expecting it to be
part of the wall or...
No, it's expecting like the dad to say, everything's fine. It's going to be okay. And then all of a sudden the same thing happens while he's in the room. You know, then it's like, oh, dad's afraid now, too.
So then they faked you out. They're like, oh, it's not going to be dad.
Yeah.
It's going to be the thing in the room.
Yeah, and then it ends up being the dad himself. That's super fucked up. Yeah, and then she wakes up and it's a dream.
Ugh, it just wigs me right out. It lulled me into such a false sense of security. So, and then we have like kind of a B storyline in this whole thing, which is... you know, Shirley believes it's her duty, and her and Stephen, the two oldest, believe it's their kind of their duty to help Luke, the younger brother, into rehab and
Luke,
and kind of help him, you know, fight his demons, and that's rough. They put him into rehab. He doesn't have any health insurance or anything like that. So it costs him $6,000 for the first month. And, you know, of course he leaves, partway through. this is like a truly true to life thing with addiction is like, this just happens constantly. You're always let down, and you really, there's none of this. There's no keeping tabs. There's no like, hey man, I spent $6,000 on you. No, it's as soon as you spend any money or time or effort on them, you just have to assume it is totally gone. It is gone into a bottomless pit of addiction. So that storyline really resonates with me. Yeah,
and the actor that played Luke,
same guy who did who did our Irishman.
Yeah.
No, he's Scottish in the Bly Manor.
Oliver Jackson Cohen, which is also the guy that played the villain in The Invisible Man. Yeah. It's watching him in Hill House. He's so good, so good as Luke, as the junkie.
You like him,
kind of. You like him. He's like still, you feel real empathy for him, even when he's in like the depths of addiction, but also like very believable junkie.
Yeah, in Bly Manor, he's such a narcissist that it's impossible to like him.
Right.
And you almost end up hating him as an actor.
Right. So, I mean, that's almost like, I almost wonder if he was cast in Bly Manor with that, because he's kind of a hunk in the Bly Manor.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a hunk in this, too.
In this one, he's not so much of a hunk. He looks like a not very healthy dude.
All the girls I'm into think that's a hunk.
You're like a big dirty raccoon, David.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else do we got? So
there's another great scare scene that actually I watched this with my wife, and this one I thought it was great, but she laughed at it, which is also a decent reaction to it.
Yeah.
It's where so
I have noticed that Erin tends to laugh a lot.
Yes.
In horror movies.
It's her defense mechanism.
She's like, ha ha, that's so stupid. Ha ha, this is stupid, guys, right?
Look how bad the makeup is. I wasn't scared. So it's the one where, so Nell is in the funeral home, and then Shirley turns around as she's leaving the room, and she sees her mom's dead body again, who sits up, and does she say something? I don't remember if she says something.
Are you talking about at the very end?
No, it's somewhere in the middle. It's her mom sits up, and then she has the box. And then,
that's at the end.
Oh, is it?
It goes,
Meow.
Yeah, that's at the almost the very end. Oh man, that scene gives me chills. But that actually brings up my next point, which is so Shirley learns of Nell's suicide. She's super pissed at Steven. She's like, I told you to go help her and you didn't do it. Steven is strangely aloof the whole time. Like, he can't be bothered with anything at all. He's just like, my family.
Well, I mean, he kind of can't win,
Yeah,
like,
no, he definitely can't. They've pinned him to a cross for something that's like, hey, come on, guys. Like, you want your story to be known, don't you? I mean, right?
Yeah. I mean, Steven was like, I can't remember. I mean, he was kind of like going towards her or like figuring out where she was, but he was moving kind of slow. Maybe I'm misremembering that.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, no, his dad told him, hey, you get going. And he started going.
Yeah.
He started going to now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and it all seems to tie back to this thing of everybody's resentful at him for making money off of the family's sad story.
Right.
Which, I get. I get that to an extent. But on the other hand, like, well, I mean, share some of the wealth. Everything's okay, right?
Yeah.
Right, guys? But no. So the next part of what I wanted to bring up was Shirley is actually going to be dealing with fixing Nell up for the funeral, which is something. I can't even wrap my head around.
Everyone tells her like you shouldn't be doing this. You should let someone else do it, even though it's your profession. And I'm on Shirley's side with this one. It's like, yeah, if you that's your profession and you take pride in your work, I wouldn't trust anyone else to do, my dead sister's makeup for her funeral. It's
actually, that's a really good point, because it would, if for no other reason, just being able to see the open casket and not be like, what the fuck are they doing with her makeup? Like, why'd they do that? Like, just all the nitpicky stuff that you are inevitably, all the little things that you are inevitably going to see that no one else will, and be like, oh, I should have done this. Like, they didn't do this right.
Right.
They didn't do it the way I would have done it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And at the end, you see it, and you're like, well, yeah, obviously, she should have been the one. She did a great job.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interesting...
Except for the bug.
Well, yeah, except for the bug. It's kind of an interesting scenario, because they, just in terms of special effects, because if you think about it, they show Nell, still a live actress, but she's playing herself dead, and she's been kind of eaten away by bugs.
Ew!
Yeah.
So you've got like these scar marks and stuff and holes that need to be filled in. So
Ew, David.
When you're watching it, it shows Shirley putting makeup and stuff over the top of special effect makeup.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then towards the end, it's like, they just basically take off all the makeup, and you're like, wow, she did a great job. And you're like, oh wait, they just removed all the makeup and shit that they put on her face.
This is doing such a weird thing to my mind, because as I watch the thing, I'm so bought into it that I'm like, wow, her face is really fucked up. But yeah. No, she's just plastering makeup on top of other makeup.
Right.
It's weird. Yeah. And then at the end they just go, okay, take all the makeup off, just put on regular makeup. Mm-hmm. Like how you would do your makeup in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Man, so like every part of this is super effective to me. Just the themes of like the kittens dealing with death as a kid.
Yeah.
Being super disturbing. Dealing with the death of your mom and being scared about that and being creeped out by her dead body, and then seeing the experience of having that made good and realizing the power of it and choosing her career later in life. And then just her, really the theme of like, you can fix her, you can fix the situation after they're dead. And it's really good. I think, yeah, like I said, there's a couple moments in this episode that hit me pretty hard. One of them was just when they bring in Nell's body in the body bag. Just reminded me of, that's like the roughest moment, like right after death, of them like coming and taking the body away and just realizing like this is like just a hunk of corpse now. It's not a person anymore.
Yeah.
And it becomes really apparent when they zip up that bag.
Yeah, you and I have both had pretty recent brushes with losing loved ones. My wife recently lost her mother, so that's my mother-in-law, and man, just it's been a really rough year, like in every way I can imagine. And I don't know if it's made worse by the fact that everybody keeps saying how rough it is. But I just imagine it for you, how it was when, that happened, when they came in to, take your dad away. And it's just, it's weird, because I kind of, like, I see everything through movies, kind of, like I really deal with things. I very much project myself into all these different, every role all the time. It's just how I tend to do things. And so I go, well, what's going to be the house that we burn down at the end? Like, what's coming? Like, how do we deal with this to make it good? What's the thing we destroy? And it's like, Jesus Christ. And then I realize that's basically been happening in our hometown for 6 months. It's so weird. It's just, it's a weird time to be watching this.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's rough right now, and it's a bad time to experience death because it's just a really shitty time to have a funeral.
Oh my God.
Or
we couldn't see Kay before she died at all.
Mm-hmm.
At all. Didn't see her for 3 weeks, and then she died.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway, and then the final thing that I wanted to mention about this was the lack of compassion. The way family events and family relationships end up doing a thing to everyone's attitude. It could be Thanksgiving, could be Christmas, could be somebody's funeral. But this thing happens at Nell's funeral where her twin brother, Luke, shows up to mourn her.
No, you're remembering wrong. It's her wedding. They turn him away from her wedding.
Oh, my apologies.
She's alive. She's getting, don't you remember? And she's kind of sad that he's not there.
Yes, vaguely.
The funeral comes later in another episode.
Okay.
It's a while down.
Okay. Yeah. And the lack of compassion that Shirley shows to Luke, who, Luke's like, I want to see my sister get married, but he's clearly just shot up. And she's like, look, just get a cab. Like, here's $100. Go shoot the rest of it. Whatever. Keep the change, kind of thing. And he's like, why are you doing this to me? Like, this is the only way I could be here and experience this thing for my sister who I love. Can't you just be nice to me? Like, what harm would it do?
Yeah.
And the answer is potentially some harm. But also, where's the compassion?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The family relationships, there's definitely a huge element of, I'm tired of this shit. Like, you're just fed up with dealing with a certain person or the same problems over and over again. You're just like,
yeah,
no thanks. And you see that in where there's just not a lot of compassion to go around, really, because they're eventually dealing with their own problems.
Yeah, everybody's up in their own head.
Yeah.
And they got no time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, at the end, as you already alluded to, there's that moment where she's walking out of the room, where she's just gotten done preparing Nell, and the light flickers, and her mom's like, she turns the light off, and their mom's laying there. And her mom sits up, and she's got the little meow box. Meow. And that was terrifying. And then the final scene in this whole thing that I thought was kind of well done and spooky. Stop playing with that, please.
It's annoying to me.
It's annoying that you're playing with it. The final thing that I kind of liked was the light. So as she's walking out of her office and she's like getting ready to go to bed, she's turning off all the lights as she goes. And then the camera refocuses on this little model house that's kind of in the corner, and the light at the front of the house blinks. And that's a callback to the start of the episode where they're like, hey kids, when I flash the light, that's when it's time to come in. And so it's like, now at the end of the episode, we're calling all the kids home. So everybody's we're gonna meet me, and we're all gonna, meet up, and that's eventually what ends up happening in Hill House. Spoilers. So
I'm so excited about, I think it's episode 6. Like, I'm looking forward to that one.
I think it is 6
with the one shot. It's so great.
Oh man, there are so many memorable parts of this show. Oh man. There's one in an upcoming episode where a little kid is hiding under a bed, and it just fucking scares the shit out of me. I remember it so vividly. Ugh, gives me chills. Anyway, so thank you guys for listening to our after show of the episode 2 of The Haunting of Hill House. This was Open Casket, I believe. So make sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, or share this with a friend. That is how we grow, and we would like to grow. If you'd like to support us, you can do so by heading on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk, or you can just go to our website, horrormovietalk.com, and click the little green button at the top of the header says Become a Patron. That helps us out a lot, and we've got tons of perks that we work on every single week to make sure that you get your money's worth. Also, you can check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He provides us all the artwork for our normal weekly episodes. Those come out on Wednesdays. So make sure to check him out over on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. He does take commissions, so tell him HMT sent you. Special thanks to Maxwell.R.Allen on Instagram. And if you'd like to call us, finally, leave us a voicemail. You can do so by calling 682-253-4468. We love you very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you for episode 3.
Bye-bye.
Bye.